Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we return to talking about the CW channel and their slew of superhero shows, one of which is getting axed at the end of this season. That's right, today we're specifically talking about Supergirl, one of the most woke shows they have over there at the CW. This show actually started on a major network but didn't get the ratings they hoped for, so they shuffled it back to the CW, where it's had a few more seasons and had a little more life. Supergirl is, of course, a show. It started around, I believe, 2014 or 2015, and they were pretty woke right out the gate. Now, to give them credit, they did get in before they had the trend of making all these female leads not attractive. That was before the Supergirl's time, so they actually have a pretty hot chick playing Supergirl. Melissa Benoist is the star, and yeah, she's a great choice, but unfortunately, the material she had to work with was very, very woke, very pro-feminist. It was a very much a girl power show, and in addition, it had the problem of living in its regular superhero shadow. Supergirl is, of course, a girl spin-off of Superman, and this is a trend that's all too common in the current age. These guys on the left, these liberals, SJWs, these progressives and woke activists, they want to push feminist stuff, but they hardly ever come up with their own stories. They don't really like to do the work or make it the hard way. They don't want to earn their way, so they just say, hey, this character's popular, let's make a girl version, or hey, let's reboot this series with girl characters instead. It's like the most lazy, simple idea ever, but they keep trying it over and over again. Supergirl wasn't the only one. Supergirl was a show. A few years later, they had Batwoman, which is like a girl version of Batman, of course. They've had a lady reboot of Ghostbusters, which was back in 2016. Ocean's 11 had a lady reboot called Ocean's 8. I believe that was 2018, and so on and so forth. Like the major girl power properties, besides a few outliers, they're usually lady reboots, and Supergirl is essentially that, and it's basically run its course. It's been canceled. We're going to talk more about the show, why it's canceled, and all the woke stuff they've done over the years too. But first, let's take a quick moment to check out our sponsor. Hey guys, today I want to offer you another one of these awesome free gold coins. This time it's the firefighter coin. This time we're supporting our boys in red, the ones we call when we need safety and help when things go wrong at our house or somewhere we work. When there's a fire, we call the fire department, and there's no better way to support America's firefighters than getting one of these free gold coins. All you have to do is pay for shipping, and one of these awesome firefighter coins can be yours today. It's a really great deal. It's an awesome offer coming from the Brave Patriot. They're great with these gold coins. They have lots of cool offers and styles, and today's no different. All you have to do is pay for shipping, and you could get this awesome firefighter coin and support these guys who really support our neighborhoods and our country. Thanks for your time today. Hopefully you check out our exclusive link below if you're interested. And now back to the show. Great, now that that's out of the way, let's talk more about Supergirl. As this article says, Supergirl to end with upcoming 6th season. This was announced earlier this week, and I can't say I'm surprised. As we mentioned in the intro, this show has actually already been on for 5 or 6 years, as this article says, and in addition, it was shuffled off of a major network onto the CW channel, which is also another network that's surely significant, but not nearly as respectable. You know, the CW tends to carry more like, I don't know, just lower budget shows, just like shows that are like not as cool. Usually, I mean, there's a few cool ones that I like. I'll admit I'm a big Supernatural fan. I like The Flash and a lot of the Arrow show. So they're not all bad. It's just sometimes they go a little far. Sometimes they get a little cheesy. They've had some lamer shows like Charmed, like some of the other superhero shows where they wore a lot of costumes that kind of looked comical. And Superwoman mostly stayed away from that, especially originally. It was just her, and she was in this real world city. But the whole setup, before we get to the new article, just so you know, it was like basically cut and paste a copy of Clark Kent from Superman. Like, she's a girl version. She's a younger girl who plays a superhero character, wears virtually the same suit except for she's in a skirt. And then in addition, she was also a writer and reporter type character too, just like what Clark Kent's alter ego did. And in addition, there was like a lot of woke stuff early on in the season. I believe Callista Flockhart was one of her bosses that turned out to be a villain, and she was like some kind of girl power female villain, and they had a lot of feminist stuff in there, a lot of messages, a lot of woke garbage that surely cut down on the show. It was political. It got too, biased and offensive and just like, singling out men, like bashing them while trying to prop up women in this like terrible kind of woke reboot of Superman. It was just like a big mess. And that's just me, what I remember offhand. I know there were a lot more specifics, but for now, I think that's enough to show you that this is where it led to. 6 seasons is still a long time too. I mean, they definitely got woke and went broke eventually. This show might have gone on longer. Like some of the CW shows have gone much longer. Like for example, the Arrow show I know probably had twice as many seasons, and that's because it was badass. It was a guy character played by a guy who was cast similar to the comic books and the source material. And yeah, it was just like that. And I know Supergirl had her own comic too, but even originally in the comic, it was still just like a lady reboot of Superman. And the fact that they made the show now in current year, well, back in 2015 when it started. So that's just showing that they make these things a thing because of current events and politics and, woke stuff and liberals taking over. So that's a good preface. Let's get back into this article. It says, Melissa Benoist is hanging up the cape. Supergirl will conclude with its upcoming 6th season. The CW, Warner Brothers TV, and Berlanti Productions announced Tuesday. It was not made clear whether the network canceled the show or the showrunners decided season 6 would be the end. The writing team has already started mapping out the 20-episode final season, which will begin production in Vancouver, Canada later this month. So they're planning an end. It doesn't seem clear that it's canceled or they're just letting it go. It's pretty similar though. I mean, canceled is a little bit worse, but they're also ending it because they know the time is up. They wouldn't last much longer anyway. This isn't like ending on a high note for sure if it was the creator's choice. This is like really kind of petering out and just going out with a whimper instead of like going out on top or something, which is what they might be trying to claim. That's what a lot of people do when they want to wrap up a season and a show. They want to say they went out on their own terms, and that could be good or bad, but let's not make a mistake. Let's not say this is like a Seinfeld incident. Like Seinfeld, they went out on top. They retired the show when they were the biggest show of all time and they wanted to end it on a high note, but this is more like ending it on a middle or low. To say it has been an honor portraying the iconic character would be a massive understatement, Benoist wrote in an Instagram post after the news broke. Seeing the incredible impact the show has had on young girls around the world has always left me humbled and speechless. She's had that impact on me too. She taught me strength I didn't know I had, to find hope in the darkest places and that we are stronger when we're united. What she stands for pushes all of us to be better. She has changed my life for the better and I'm forever grateful. A pretty nice, neutral quote. Nothing really to say here. She sounds like a nice kid. Like I said, the girl that plays Supergirl is a stunner. She just doesn't seem all bad. It seems like she might be pretty woke and feminist too, like the way the show leans. I'm sure she goes along with that. And the fact that she's on this show, she didn't write it. She didn't come up with all this woke stuff. She might have rather had it be more of an action focused or just having its own thing instead of focusing on that all the time. But yeah, it seems like she has a good quote there. Debuting in October 2015, Supergirl aired on CBS in its first season, which had more of a villain of the week structure and chronicled Kara Danvers' Benoist attempts to balance being a superhero and working at Catco. The series jumped over the CW for its second season and over the past 5 years has explored immigration, gun control, and other timely issues. In its fourth season, it made history by casting Nicole Maines as Dreamer, TV's first transgender superhero. So here we're getting into a lot of the woke stuff, obviously, and we're getting more specifics and confirmations. As I mentioned and guessed, it was coming out in 2015 on the CBS. It was shuffled over to the CW after a season where it kind of just tuckered out. I mean, it still went for 5 years. That's a great run. I'm not trying to deny it any kind of credit, but I can see it addressing some issues like this. Like it's a show, it has a lot of episodes, it's a hero fighting things, but we know it's going to have that left-wing tint. We know that these mainstream shows are going to have that liberal edge. So they're definitely going to be like more like pro-immigration, anti-gun, and other kinds of stuff going along with that. So that's a little disheartening. And then you get to this Dreamer stuff, the first alphabet superhero. It's clear they're trying to get woke with that. I believe that's another video we made about this show before when that happened. I think it might have been a year or so ago. And yeah, it's just another woke thing coming from this show. Desperate for ratings, trying to get one of those names out there. Like that's a big thing a lot of these superheroes shows try to go for. Like this claim right here, the first trans superhero. That's what they all go for now. Like that's what Black Panther was trying to be. It was trying to be the first black superhero movie, even though there were a number others before that, like Blade and Meteor Man and Blank Man. Like there were a bunch before it, but that's what they went for. They kind of snuck that in. And the same thing with Captain Marvel. These are Marvel-sided movies. Captain Marvel was trying to be the first girl hero movie, even though that wasn't true, of course. There was Wonder Woman. There was even another Marvel hero, Elektra, that had a movie before it. But that's what these things all go for. And these shows were trying to get in on that too. It gets them some advertising and some buzz. And, all the woke reporters will jump onto that and say, hey, let's look at this show. They're getting woke here. They're getting woke there, stuff like that. Supergirl wasn't conceived as part of the Arrowverse, but that changed toward the end of season 1 when The Flash's Grant Gustin crossed over for one episode, which established that Both shows took place on separate Earths within a multiverse. Of course, that connection to the Arrowverse deepened when Supergirl changed networks and became part of the annual Arrowverse crossovers. The most recent crossover, Crisis on Infinite Earths, ended with all the Arrowverse shows, Supergirl, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Black Lightning, and Batwoman, being merged into one Earth. So they have a bit of a multiverse, a bit of their own kind of like Arrowverse is what they call it. It's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but on a smaller scale with these shows. But I mean, it's not a small scale either. This is a lot of shows, a lot of coordinations on this network, and they've really pushed the limit. But as I said, like most of these shows are not really worth watching. Like The Flash is pretty good. That's the one I'll count out. That's a good one. But Legends of Tomorrow, I've heard good things, but there's a lot to sink in there. There's a lot of heroes and it's like cheesy costumes. Black Lightning is kind of like the black version, the black character, the token one. And then Batwoman, we talked about, that one was super woke. I mean, that one has totally become a mess. That's another show that's on the CW, just so you know where all this stuff is coming from. I mean, Batwoman was the one that was just like straight up alphabet hero. All the trailer was about was like her alphabet relationship. And again, she was just a copy of Bruce Wayne. It was a rich female in the Bruce Wayne family that took over Bruce Wayne's literal Batcave. Like she just takes over Batman's Batcave, and it's just like a really weak kind of spin-off. She doesn't do her own thing. She's not worthy of the Bat Cowl. And yeah, and in addition to that, we also have the Fallout drama. Like the main actor isn't returning to Batwoman. She did one season and bailed, probably because she knew it was such a bad thing. It was such a mess, and it was just, you know, political and over the top and terrible, and she just wanted to walk away, which good for her. I mean, I wouldn't have done it in the first place. But the other thing about Batwoman before we move back to Supergirl is they recast it. Now they're going to have a woke minority alphabet too. So I found that pretty interesting. Like the next Batwoman just happened to also be alphabet, like also be into girls. And in addition, I believe she's a minority, and you know, nothing wrong with those things on their own. But when you look at all this stuff together and you see that it's like girl power, black power, you know, alphabet power, it's just like they're hitting all these boxes, and it's not really as genuine and as interesting of stories. Like if this came out of good stories, we could get behind it. But the fact that they're trying to force it down your throats is what really is lame. With this news, Supergirl will become the second Arrowverse series to end. Arrow, the show that started it all in 2012, concluded its 8-season run in January. However, this doesn't mean that the CW is saying goodbye to the House of L completely, because Superman and Lois, starring Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tulloch as the titular couple, is joining the network's lineup this winter. So that's about wrapping it up. We could see that the CW has more superhero shows in the future. A few of them are starting to wrap up. Many are still going. Batwoman is still trucking on, as we mentioned. I guess those other ones are too. But again, it's tough to watch. It's hard to see these heroes kind of like thrown into this woke garbage, but it is interesting. Like I said, some of these crossovers look pretty cool too, so it's not all bad, but certainly Supergirl won't be missed. I assume Batwoman will be canceled soon behind them, and that about wraps up what we have to say. Thanks for watching today's show. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Tell me what you think about this show, about the cancellation / possible retirement, and what you think about the future of the CW and these characters. In addition, hit the like button to help support this channel, subscribe if you're new, and hit the bell for notifications too. Until next time, have a great day and an awesome weekend.